The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100. We had this mega drop yesterday, and sorry, I was out of town. Couldn't go over it. I got back last night from Kansas City. So, yeah, mega drop. What happened here, right? The market, is this a recession? Are we pulling back? I mean, those are the comments that I'm seeing on Twitter is this is the black swan event. DeepSeek is taking us to the ground. And I mean, if I just looked at this action from Friday's close until basically yesterday at lows of 20,760, but we'll say where the body is, be generous, right? Lows of 20,900 basically. It's 1,000 points of a drop yesterday, 1,000 points. But there's a big issue here. There's a very big issue because when we look at the drop, we have to understand a few things. Number one, if we look at the Nasdaq, it's primarily what's really driven us up has been AVGO, NVIDIA, a lot of semiconductors, and then you could argue Apple to a certain extent, some of these other Mag 7 names. But the biggest thing here has been semiconductors, okay? So I want to also highlight here that the Nasdaq, in theory, because semiconductors have driven us so far up, you would assume when they dip that the other Mag 7 names follow suit, especially if you're bearish on that market or the economy, okay? So this is very important that we track this. And I would have highlighted this yesterday. I couldn't post it, but this is crazy. So let's attack what dropped yesterday, and we'll go over today's action, of course. You see NVIDIA really dropped 141 down to lows of like 116. Bases bounced back up. Awesome. It looks kind of amazing here. Okay. AVGO, about a 40-point drop, 244 down to basically 200 and bouncing so far. Not as good of a bounce. Okay. But this is where things get tricky. This is where things get crazy. Meta, Facebook, all-time highs. Even yesterday, pushing all-time highs. Okay, well, that's weird. That's weird. We see 1,000-point drop on the Nasdaq and a decent drop on ES and Dow sitting at high still, not doing anything bearish at all. But I thought this was bad. I thought this was the end of the maybe the other name. Maybe the other names. Tesla's dipping. Oh, that's weird. You're making higher lows still in Tesla, grinding the 200 or the 50 SMA, sitting in your same range, haven't broken. That's weird. 1,000-point drop. You would expect Tesla to drop. That's weird. What about Apple? Apple has to be bearish. Wait, Apple, you're telling me yesterday Apple continued to climb up? It continued its bounce from its 200 SMA down here? Wait, so you're telling me that the first largest name in the Nasdaq, Apple, continues to climb when it's dropping 1,000 points? It's weird. Maybe that's a fluke. It's a fluke. What about Amazon? That's weird. Amazon, all-time highs. Also strange. Netflix, just consolidating at all-time highs. Didn't even dip yesterday. It's weird. You're going to notice this theme. Microsoft, bouncing back from yesterday, already back at highs from Friday. Google, sitting in its same range, nothing's happened. The point of the story is this. The market is not bearish. It's as simple as that. Now, tomorrow you have FOMC. We'll go over that. But I want to paint you a very clear picture. The market is not bearish. You have to see other areas of the market drop except one sector. If one sector drops, it's probably a trap. One of the biggest buying opportunities you would have had was yesterday. I'm going to tell you that right now. I told you guys over the weekend, I bought some NVIDIA. I bought some Apple. I'm doubling down most likely on NVIDIA here. I love what I saw. Going into DeepSeek and what's happening there as well. I'm going to go into earnings. This is your earnings calendar. We'll probably come back into this here in a second. But I want to make something very clear. And you can go look this up. I like to look stuff up and show you guys how I look it up. Very simple. Just type in Trump, DeepSeek. All you got to do. All you got to type in. I am more bullish than ever when it comes to what's happening with semiconductors, chips, AI, the works. Trump says some stupid things. He says some very stupid things. I agree. Very crazy, out of pocket. Don't really know what he's talking about. But I believe he understands what's happening here. The AI Pandora's box is out. It is there. It is out. Okay? And he has turned the narrative of DeepSeek and what's happening there to a bullish narrative. First of all, DeepSeek, if you don't know, is tracking all of your information and storing it in China. Worth mentioning. So DeepSeek probably will not be a winning product in the long run. I'm just saying that right now. Number two, I struggle to trust anything coming out of China because for the past 2 years, everything has kind of fallen apart from them. Just saying. And then number 3, semiconductors are still bullish as hell. Trump, the release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for industries that we need to be laser focused. He actually went on to say that we are typically number 1 and we need to remain number 1. And in my opinion, if we look at the last administration, the Biden administration to this administration, in my opinion, the tide has turned. The last administration was restrictions, ban, you can't do this, you can't do that. I believe Trump is going to be pouring his focus into accelerating, making sure we are the leaders in this space. Now, some of you may say, well, AI is bad. It's already out. We've already done it. It's out. Now we have to choose. Do we want to be a leader or do we want to lag? I think Trump is playing it from that standpoint. And if that is the standpoint Trump takes, I'm telling you right now, NVIDIA is still net bullish. Now, the other part of this, DeepSeek has crashed. It cannot handle the demand. Spoiler alert, crazy world. Who would have thought? So turns out you might need more chips than you originally thought. Kind of crazy. The other point here. Let's hypothetically say that these companies need less chips than they need currently, which they don't. But let's say they do. If you're going short on NVIDIA, I want to paint a very clear picture for you right now. Very clear. Okay, let's just really quickly look at this. What? If the music, I said this the last time we had our video here. If the music slows down, then yeah, maybe hit the pause button. But over the past 12 earnings, okay, 2022, $7 billion in revenue, $8 billion, $6 billion, slowed down, right? This is when we had our big drop. This is when everyone thought the world was going to end, right? $6 billion. But then what happens? What happens? 7, 13. You almost doubled your earnings. The next earnings, 18. The next earnings, 22. The next earnings, 26 billion. The next earnings, 30 billion. The next earnings, 35 billion. We're still growing rapidly. And you know what's the craziest part about this is? This next earnings, it is going to be your first earnings call with NVIDIA at full capacity of the production of their Blackwell chip. It is. And this is the narrative you're getting right now. I don't know if I don't want to say this is manipulated or this or that, but it's comedy. And if anyone's coming out here, this is the craziest part. You see these people talking about, well, I'm bullish on AMD and this one and this one. But I think NVIDIA might be a bubble. I want to paint you a very clear picture. NVIDIA dipped like this, and go look at every other semiconductor name. It followed and did most likely worse and actually recovered worse on the day. That should tell you something. If NVIDIA fails, they most likely all take a big dump. I'm not going to say they all fail, but they all probably take a big dump. So again, if you're going to bet on this race and you're trying to play it safe, you might want to bet on the horse that keeps winning all the races. Okay, now hedge your positions, do what you got to do, but don't come in here blindly and say I'm bullish on AMD, the company that hasn't really beat in 2 years. What are we talking about? This company's not even recovering. People have no idea what they're talking about. They're looking at just a random chart and saying, oh, it's got to bottom out eventually. No idea what you're talking. No recovery here on the day on AMD. Nothing, right? Because right now it's trash. Again, we're going to get off that soapbox, but I believe, and I want to make it very clear, I am bullish on NVIDIA. I am very bullish. The chart here is incredible. This is an incredible chart now. I post this on Twitter. This is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You are fully illiquid back into 138 now. Even higher. Madness. I would even say conservatively 133, 134. Now, what I will say, okay, going into tomorrow, you do have your FOMC. Okay, we have our FOMC meeting tomorrow. So I will say that things might turn bad. Possible. Okay. But just from a viewpoint of the stocks from Friday to the stocks to Tuesday, I feel nothing has changed in my mind. And you also now have earnings upcoming. So let's attack a few things. Number one, the FOMC tomorrow. My expectations. Let's run through them very quickly. The inflation point of view. All data is very good. Every bit of inflation data we've had, PCE, PPI, CPI, all fantastic. The Fed, they're probably going to come in with the tone of, this was surprising to see our data. This was good. Data-wise, fantastic. Other point of view, the real wrench here, right? The banana in the tailpipe, dare I say. Donald Trump with his tariffs. He's announced some of his tariff plans. They are lower than we anticipated. Okay? Now, there is some concern there because he went off on a tangent yesterday and said we need to abolish income tax, which I would be all for. Donald Trump, you got my vote, eh? And he wants to basically tax these other countries out to the moon, right? I don't know how the Fed's going to respond to that because he's already initiated some of these tariffs and what's going to happen there. Okay? So do they proceed more cautious? Potentially. The only bad piece of data that's come in is unemployment. And it's not necessarily that it's bad. It's that it isn't incentivizing the Fed to cut rates. Okay? So that's the only thing that can say out there right now. And in Trump is how are they interpreting that data? But from the looks of it, Trump and the Fed seem to be on a better foot and kind of where we thought they were going to be than in the beginning. We had the whole Trump call. We talked about that, whatever. Okay, that's what we'll see tomorrow. But as of right now, I think it's priced in. There's no rate hike or no rate cut. Makes logical sense. We want to see the tone moving forward. What they're going to say regarding the inflation data, I believe it's very clear they're going to be surprised by the data. But that's where we're at right now. Okay, I make that very clear. The next thing on the list is obviously, like we just mentioned a few seconds ago, earning whispers. Also, Selena Gomez crying because of the immigrants was kind of crazy. Look up the video. That was nuts. Not gonna lie. Shout out to Abuelita. So yeah, earnings this week. Tomorrow is where it heats up. You have Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, IBM, LRCX. Those are some big ones. Okay, those are ASML in the morning, tomorrow morning. Okay, things are heating up. It's getting real. It's getting real in the kitchen. You hear that? It's getting hot. That's not the smoke detector. That's just the heat. Okay. You also have Thursday, Apple, Intel, Visa, right? The big one here obviously is Apple. That's what I care the most about. But yeah, right. Some Dow names as well. But that's the big one on Thursday is Apple. Next we'll have Google, we'll have Amazon, some other big boys as well next week. So Microsoft. But again, tomorrow's your big day for earnings in the after hours. So we'll be checking that out. For me right now, I'm just not in the spot where I am concerned in the market, right? I think this is where you continue to have, and Monday has made me more bullish. Okay, guys? And this really isn't a technical video. This isn't anything like that. This is me just telling you. If I'm just basing off the technicals, just looking at the charts, Monday has made me more bullish than ever on the market. I don't know how else to explain this. You just dropped 1,000. You dropped 1,200 points. You dropped, but conservatively, 1,000 points on Nasdaq, and a majority of your Mag 7 names did nothing, except they made new highs. New highs. You had every opportunity today to continue to drop as well on Nvidia. You did. This is the kicker. Nvidia today had every opportunity to keep dropping. You literally you made new lows on the day on Nvidia. You actually broke lows of 117 down to 116 and bounced. And then you bounced $12. Guys, I'm just telling you. Where I'm sitting at, this is beautiful. This is what we like to see. When do we get bearish? When we start seeing some bad data. When we start seeing some bad earnings. Okay, Ali texting me. Can't multitask here. Right? We start seeing inflation surging. When we start seeing something that points to downside, but we don't jump to downside thesis, to a downside logic when the market is doing everything right. Everything is going right. Right? That's my opinion. That's where I'm standing at here. I'll have stuff posted on Twitter. You guys can tap in there. Also, too, I do want to let you guys know if you're looking at futures, I'm going to tell you right now. They're currently having their sale. I posted it a few times on Twitter. I'll repost it again. But again, this sale will end on the 31st for My Fun of Futures. Tap in if you want, guys. The link is down below. Code HEFE, all caps. Have a good one. It's the Starter Plus accounts, by the way. I'll see you guys tomorrow. See you on Twitter if you have questions. Have a good one, traders.